Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of RCT1 Scenarios but Beautiful. In this episode, I will tackle this park that probably everybody knows who played the original Rollercoaster Tycoon, Evergreen Gardens. Now, this scenario is mostly known for guests actually getting lost in the park, especially if you don't have any rides yet in the park. Guests will just wander somewhere, and they will find, and they won't be able to find their way back. That's kind of a problem when you're playing the scenario. Now, I will not be worrying about any of that. What I will be worrying about is that this park is huge. So we have a lot of area to fill up. Now, I want to make this park look beautiful, and what I have in mind for this park is to actually turn it into a spooky park. So Evergreen Gardens will, in this playthrough, be known as Everscream Gardens. Now, first thing I'm going to do is clear out some scenery along the edge of the park. I will remove some redundant paths, because there's a lot of them, and I definitely don't want to keep the paths like this. It's just, it's not very nice to build in between these paths. So I will get rid of a lot of them, and just to try to get something that I can work with, and where I can fill some nice themed areas in between, and some large attractions as well. Anyway, time to begin with the perimeter of the park. Alright, it may have been a little bit painful to watch, to see all this scenery removed in the park, leaving only the paths, but it's definitely necessary for what I'm planning to do in this park. And I didn't plan to actually leave much of the original scenery or pathing there, so best to just immediately rip the band-aid off and get rid of them. You could see me already install some new pathing here, and this is kind of the look and feel that I want to go for in the park. And I'll mix the different path types a bit, so we'll have some darker path, we'll have some of this crazy paving, but in the end it will make sense. Anyway, as you can see all around the map we now have this perimeter of these trees. I tried to use some of the darker trees, some of the dead trees, put some pumpkins in between, and right in front I buried some of these snowball trees to make it look like some dry or dead grass. And in front of that I put some of these alien trees which I buried into the ground. And I think they work great as thorny bushes. And thorny bushes, I think they're a great way to keep unwanted guests out of the park, and to keep the guests from escaping. Anyway, with this done, it's time for me to work on the entrance area of the park. So the entrance area obviously will be here. And I will also extend a path here which will lead to a central plaza. Alright, that's the entrance area of the park completed. Now, as you may be able to see, I used a few custom objects here, and those are mostly recolorable versions of existing custom objects, like these pointy roofs and some of these roofs, and also some recolorable versions of these Japanese fences. And there's also some of these sandstone arches from the one of the expansion sets. And in this park, I think it will be fun to use some objects that I normally don't use very often in my parks. I think it helps to create some really nice looking buildings with some different colors than usual. Anyway, here for the entrance, we see this big gate here with the skull on top. I used some of these signs as banners on the side of the tower, and they spell out Everscream Gardens. Here we have some ticket counters. I put some of these mini golf tracks in front to act as kind of like a queue for the ticket counter. Here in the middle, I put a little statue. It's basically one of these cotton candy stalls. I put some water jets here to make it look like it's crying. And then over here, there's the gate where the tickets will get checked. And next to the entrance here, I just put some small gardens and some dead trees. I'm adding a few more. But yeah, I think this actually looks pretty nice. I think this will definitely serve well as the entrance for this spooky park. I'm really happy with it. Anyway, that's of course only the entrance to the park, the first thing the guests will see. After that, there's this long red path here that leads to the middle. And over here, I kind of want to make a spooky town, which will be the center of the park. Alright, quite a lot has happened in this central area. So I've made this path leading towards it. Now off camera I built this little park info booth here. It actually has 2 invisible information kiosks in it. And also throw some entertainers in it with a guest uniform, which you can do using the Peep Editor plugin. Now here I made the start of a railway. Now I want to make a railway that goes through the park. I'll probably give it 3 stations, or maybe just 2 stations. I think 3 will be a nice number. So we'll have stations over here and another one over here. Here we have a launched freefall. I just put this skull on top because I thought it looked pretty funny. Here we have a little restaurant called Bone to Pick. And over here we have this, well, there used to be these gardens here with jumping fountains around them. And I actually kept the path layout over here, except this little section. And I put a maze in place here. So yeah, I think this is just a fun nod to the original scenario, and just fun to keep some of the original path layout here. Anyway, before I continue in the park, I want to show you something interesting. Take a good look at this landmass here. I'll just make the trees invisible. So take a good look at this landmass here, the shape of it. So here we have the bigger landmass, here we have a smaller one, and then there's several smaller landmasses surrounding it. And just try to remember these shapes, and when you're done remembering it, I'm going to show you a different scenario. Alright, here we have Dynamite Dunes. Now, as you may be able to see, here we have the bigger landmass, the smaller one, and then there's all these smaller landmasses. And they have almost exactly the same shape and are almost in exactly the same position, which tells me these scenarios are based off each other. Probably Evergreen Gardens is based off Dynamite Dunes. So let's do another scenario. So here we have Forest Frontiers, a scenario you all remember probably. So let's hide the trees, and let's rotate the map twice. And do you recognize this land shape here? The bigger one, the smaller one. And some of the smaller land masses, like this one, are also in exactly the same place. Well, I could continue on like this for quite a while, because there's tons of RCT1 scenarios that are all based on the same map. Alright, yeah, that was just something I wanted to show you, which I think is quite interesting. Anyway, I think it's time to start on our first coaster, and since currently we have a mini contest going on where people have to create a wild mouse coaster, I think it will be fun to create a wild mouse coaster. And I think this spot over here right next to the entrance will be a really nice spot with the wild mouse coaster. It's a nice and compact space, and guests would have quite a nice view of the coaster already from the entrance. And that would be a really nice way to get them warmed up for this ride. Alright, here's the first roller coaster of the park. Here you can see the Wild Mouse. I call it Pumpkin Mine. Maybe I'll give it a different name, but I'll see later. But yeah, quite a standard Wild Mouse layout. So here's the lift hill. I went for a shallow lift hill, and yeah, here you can see the typical slow 180 degree curves that you will typically see on a wild mouse. Now there's a few steeper drops down here, and for the rest of the section, here's just a curved drop and a bit of a faster section over here, and finally here it makes it back to the station. Right, it's a wild mouse layout, so nothing spectacular. Here I made a little building for it to dip through. You will often see that on wild mouse coasters. Over here just made a stack of pumpkins just to spice it up a little bit more. Pumpkin spice. Anyway, here we can see a little arch. In the original scenario there were also some Roman columns here. I went for a recolorable version of the Roman column, and I put a little bit of a monorail track over it just to create another incomplete arch here. So just a little homage to the original scenery in the scenario. I think this works quite well. I'm really happy with the way this looks. Alright, with that it's time to move on to the next section of the park. What I think I'm going to do is finish this railway, and I think it will actually be fun if the train in this park actually goes backwards. So I'll see if I can make this work with shuttle mode. Probably if I hide a part of track where the train can reverse and then bypass the first station. While it is in shuttle mode, that should allow me to make the whole ride run backwards. So I'm going to first lay out the track. After that I'm going to fiddle a bit with it to make this train go backwards throughout the entire park. Alright, you can now see some magic in action here. The train is in shuttle mode, it reaches this dead end and then travels backwards underground, bypassing the station. I needed to do that because there were two other trains waiting here, so I need to bypass that. And now the trains will go backwards throughout the track, and hopefully they will pass by all these stations normally now. And then from now on I can just hide this track here where the trains go underground. Alright, with that the railway is now complete. So we now have 3 stations throughout the park. Over here is the first station, the main station, and when the ride starts the trains will all reverse here on this track, which is now invisible, and after that they will just continue indefinitely traveling backwards on this train. Now because they now go backwards, they don't actually have collision with each other anymore. So when this train arrives here in the station and this train also comes, it will just pass through it. I don't think I'm actually going to do anything about that. I guess it just makes it all the more spooky. Or maybe I could set the waiting times a bit higher. I don't know. But for now I'll just leave it like this. Maybe this will be something I'll tackle later. But yeah, quite happy with the railway. What I'm going to work on now is something over here in this corner of the park, What I want to make here is a long car ride. Alright, here we have our finished car ride. Now, as you can see, I removed the original track of the car ride and I replaced it with a single rail coaster track on the floor. I had to do some trickery to actually make this happen, but the way I did it, I was able to turn the ride into a lift. Well, I'm probably already getting too much into details here. Anyway, yeah, in the end we just have a cool car ride here. I made two separate tracks. Made some parts where the cars reverse direction. So already here at the beginning, these red cars reverse direction. So here they actually meet each other, with some cars going forward, some going backwards. I think that's a cool interaction moment. Now there are several more turntables along the track. Other than that, just tons of decorations. Just made lots of buildings along the track. Also some with some steep sections of track. Yeah, you'll have to imagine there's an elevator in these little towers here. I also made some rats here along the track. They used the Black Death cars from one of the expansions. It's normally a bobsleigh vehicle. And actually in this tower, as the guests pass, they can sometimes see a shark that approaches them. Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Hey, here are just some pumpkins, some bubbling goo. In the end, I'm really happy with the way this looks. I think this just became really cool. Now, just going to add some shops and stalls here for the guests to get some food and some drink, and then after that, I'm going to move on to the next area. Alright, the next area of the park that I want to develop is this area in between the main section, or the beginning section, and the screen section. And we have kind of a nice long space here. And I think this is a perfect space to put an arrow launched loop model. So if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like the corkscrew coaster that you see in Crumbly Woods. It's a coaster that starts on a high platform, drops down into a loop, and then finally it ends at an opposing platform, and from that it will get launched backwards again. And this kind of coaster is quite easy to make with a simple shoestring. Anyway, enough talking, let's just get to work on it. Alright, here we have Revolution. Now it actually has the same name as the shuttle loop that's in Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And it also sort of has the same kind of support structure in that it has a big arch under it. Not exactly the same, but it does kind of resemble it. And that gave me the opportunity to actually let the path pass underneath here quite easily. Alright, with that done, I want to focus again on a different area of the park. I think over here we can fit another nice big roller coaster. Alright, that's another coaster in the park completed. So I called this this coaster Flightmare, and it's a laydown coaster. Now, if you've seen my tutorial before on how to build a laydown coaster, you'll see that this is quite a standard layout for this for a coaster like this. Here you can see the typical lift hill with the guests traveling on their backs. Then a small drop, a curve. Here they go in a flying position, an overbanked turn. Over here there's a vertical loop, and after that there's a few more inversions until finally they go back to the station here. Now I had quite a bit of space left here in the middle, so I decided to make the queue here. And I think this works pretty well, so it's nice to see a nicely decorated queue. I think, yeah, I quite like the way this looks. I also put some of these other track pieces here. They're supposed to represent roots that are growing here. So yeah, they travel over and under the track a few times, and they also go over the queue here, just to add a little bit of atmosphere. Now I also made sure that guests would be able to see these inversions here. So yeah, there are some trees here, but they're mostly buried, just so that guests would actually be able to get a good view of this loop and this roll that's right in front of it. Also made some of these seating places right next to the water with some umbrellas, a little ice cream stall and a hidden iced tea stall. Yeah, altogether I think this worked out greatly. So yeah, this park is huge. Yeah, I wanted to add another coaster to the park, and that will be one that's going to fit in this area over here. Now, once again, this area is very hilly, so I'm just going to flatten off these tops a little bit, and then I'm going to fit in the next coaster. Alright, we now have a wooden coaster in the park called Poltergeist. Now, this took me way longer than necessary, mostly because I decided to give this coaster footers. And yeah, that can be very tedious to do. But when it works out, it just looks really nice. Yeah, there's one I forgot. So yeah, I used two main methods of placing footers. Here, as you can see here, I used these prison corner pieces and just buried them underground with some wooden post fences. And in some other spots, I used the tried and true method of lol, just put a tree in front. That's also a very effective method, because then you don't actually have to place the footers. But yeah, it may look a little bit overgrown in some spots. But yeah, I think I got most spots from all angles. Here I see a spot that I missed, so I'll have to go over it a bit just to make sure I got all the places. But yeah, footers are just such a nice way to make a Woody stand out more. And yeah, it took me a bit to get this layout done nicely, but again, in the end, I'm really happy with it. Alright, I think 3 coasters is probably enough for a park this size. Of course, I could try to cram in more, but I think what I'm going to do now is just to make some filler rides to fill up the remaining spots. So I was thinking of adding a log flume over here. You can probably fit a pirate ship somewhere over here. Maybe we can even do a shoestring to make it look nicer. Kind of want to have like a boat ride here. So the expansions actually give us a nice river Styx ride. I think it's really fitting for the theme. We can probably fit a top spin over here. And over here we can probably fit a nice freefall tower, like the one I built in Class Action Mega Park. It's one of those towers where guests actually go to the top with an elevator, and then they drop down and actually freefall down into a net. So yeah, instead of talking more, I think it will be a good idea for me to get building. Alright, I've added a ton of new rides in the park. I'll just quickly go over everything that I just built. So here's the log flume. Now, quite a standard layout. Well, yeah, for the ones that I make at least. So yeah, a log flume leaf station here. Over here it goes into this little building. There's a reverses section, so they go backwards here. Over here they go forwards again. And then finally the riders go up this big hill and up this large drop where they splash down next to the path. Over here I made this pirate ship. Now once again I kind of overdid it. So yeah, there's of course the normal pirate ships, but I wanted to make a more spooky one, so I did a little shoestring, and now we have this pirate ship here, which travels back and forth several times. Even mixed some vehicles, put this skull here on top. So I think this is really fitting for the park. Now, what else do we have? I added this top spin right next to this to the center of the park here. I wanted to make it opposite the water here, so guests would get a nice view of the top spin. Put some of these fountains in front. So I think this is a real good location for the top spin. Now over here I made a boat ride on the water. You can see all these guests getting ferried to these other stations. There's 3 stations here, and it seems to be quite a popular ride. I think it really makes the water more look more alive. Now over here I made a ride kind of like the one that I made in Class Action Mega Park. Here we have one of these SCAD towers. So guests travel up with this elevator, and then here in the middle they get dropped down. Now I realized after building it that one thing that I did was I actually put these launched freefall towers, and in the Class Action Mega Park I actually used inverted impulse coaster track, which is a little thinner, so you could actually see the guests getting dropped down, and right now it's a little bit more difficult to see. Yeah, you can see it, but you have to disable the you have to enable the option to see through the track. But yeah, it is what it is. I think it's still a pretty cool ride. I have the feeling I forgot something. Oh yeah, of course, observation tower here on top of the hill. And yeah, and the scary go-round over here. And instead of the normal carousel music, it actually plays horror style. Now I usually play without music, so I won't actually hear it, but you might hear it when you open the park. Alright, yeah, I think that pretty much covers all the rides that I've built. Now there are still a few open spots. What I'm going to do now is I'm going through the park, and these open spots I'm just going to fill them up with foliage. May add a shop or two. But yeah, I'm going to do that off camera, because it'll probably not be that interesting to watch, and the video is already getting quite long. So yeah, I'll be back in a sec. Alright, I've gone through the entire park, and in all the empty spots I've added tons of foliage in the form of trees, pumpkins, but also some of these big patches of dry grass, which I use the Japanese snowball trees for. They're great when you bury them half into the ground. Now with that I think the park is mostly complete. So what I will do next is first I will add all my patrons to the park, and since the park is so big, I should be able to include everybody as an entertainer. So I think that will be fun. And after that, we'll take a quick tour through the park, and after that, I'll finish by showing you a ride on all the coasters of the park. Anyway, first off, let's give all my patrons a spot in the park as an entertainer. Alright, that's all my patrons added to the park as an entertainer. Now, if you want to view this park for yourself, you can download it from my Discord server. You can find the link in the video description. It's completely free and it allows you to check out your spot in the park a bit better. I really recommend it. I worked hard on this park. Anyway, yeah, I think it will be fun to take a really quick tour through the park. Afterwards, you can of course download it and check it out for yourself. Anyway, yeah, just to start off, here we have the entrance of the park. So a big gate with some banners. I really like using these signs as banners. So here we have the ticket shop, and over here the guests actually enter a gate. You can see some entertainers here who actually check the tickets of the guests. Well, you'll have to pretend that they do that. Right next to the entrance we have this Wild Mouse coaster here. So if you're joining the Wild Mouse coaster contest on my Discord, be sure to check out this layout. It might give you some good ideas of what to do. Over here, made an observation tower on top of the hill. Here in the center of the park we have this big square. So here's a shuttle coaster, an arrow shuttle loop. Here we have the scary go-round, a launch freefall. Now I haven't really shown this yet in the video, but in this building over here there's this recess, and I put this twister inside here. I really like this location. I think it works pretty well. Over here we have one of these spiral slides. We have a maze with some of the original pathing still in here. Also built an Enterprise here, a top spin. Yeah, there's lots of thrill rides. Over here there's a shoestrung swinging ship, ones I really like to make in these parks. Over here we have a big log flume. Here in the corner we have this big wooden coaster. Really happy with the layout. Also decided to put footers under it, which made me take twice as long at least to make it. Well, there's also this train which goes through the entire park, and what's actually funny is that it actually travels backwards, which looks quite silly in my opinion. Over here we have this laydown coaster. Yeah, quite a standard layout for these coasters, but I think it works really well here. So put this long queue in the middle. Sadly guests now also start queuing for other rides, so this queue is not as full as it used to be. But still a decent amount of people that decide to ride this coaster. We have this boat ride, which takes guests between these three stations all around the lake. It's nice to have some movement on the lake as well. Over here we have these two car rides, which actually travel in reverse for part of their layout. There's several sections where they actually reverse, or some sections where they actually have a small lift. Yeah, quite a fun ride, and I'm really happy with the way this turned out in the end. So a little homage here to Mr. Bones' Wild Ride, this sign over here. Over here we have a freefall tower, or a SCAD tower. Now, sadly you don't really see the guests fall down or jump down unless you hide this. Unless you hide the rides. What's funny is that the mechanics who come to inspect the ride also actually drop down and land over here. So yeah, I think that's pretty silly and cool. Yeah, I think those were all the rides that are in the park. Also some shops and stalls. Now I had a lot of fun making this. It was quite a lot of work since this park is huge, but I'm really happy that I got it done. And I'm really excited to work on a new park again. Alright, well, I hope you had fun watching me build this park. Be sure to download it and check it out for yourself. Yeah, I will end this video by taking a ride on all the roller coasters of the park, of which there are 4. Anyway, hope you enjoyed watching me build. Thanks for all the support. And I will see you again in the next video. See you later.